All right, good afternoon everyone. Thanks for being here for this talk. I will present to you this paper, which is a joint work with Antonio Giannakis, who's another professor of marketing at IE, and Susan, who's our PhD student, and who has done most of the work for this research. So, the question or the title of this paper is Trendy or Timeless, the effect of need for uniqueness and pressure on the choice of unique products. So, the first thing I want to mention here is that we are not talking only about luxury products, but we are examining one aspect of luxury, which is uniqueness. So most of the luxury products, if not all luxury products, are unique, but we can also find unique products that may not be luxurious. For example, if you buy a rare article, I like to play guitar, so sometimes people find vintage guitars, old guitars, and they are unique even though they may not be luxurious items. So we are talking about uniqueness. And obviously we know that in the luxury market there is a huge potential for people who are looking to buy unique products. So you are well aware of the market size, and this is growing. So there is clearly a need to understand what drives people to buy unique products. However, what you can see in the literature most of the time is that researchers have studied the choice between unique products versus non-unique products. Or, for example, between the choice between a luxurious product versus a non-luxury product. And there are many such factors that drive these choices. For example, we have these dispositional factors, like the desire for unique products, need for uniqueness, or consumers' need for uniqueness, which is another similar characteristic. And there are also situational or contextual factors, like the exposure to unique stimuli, feelings of undistinctiveness, and the scarcity marketing appeals. So both these characteristics of consumers and characteristics of the situation or the context drive the choices between luxury versus non-luxury products. So that's basically what we have in the literature. Now what we are trying to answer here is, imagine a consumer who goes into a store, for example Hermes or Louis Vuitton. They are not looking at luxury versus non-luxury products. These people, when they go into a store like this, they are looking at different luxury products. And they have to make a choice between products that are equally luxurious, maybe, but they might differ in other dimensions. So how do people choose between products like this? We have identified one characteristic or one factor that we think is important, which is the duration of these benefits that people are acquiring, what we call the duration of uniqueness. For example, a timeless bag, a design that has been around for a long time and is still in fashion. People can buy this product and they can use this product and benefit from it for many years. In contrast, we have a trendy product. This product is trendy in a certain season or in a certain year, but it may go out of fashion quickly. So they both are unique, but they have different durations in this dimension of uniqueness. At the same time, we know that stores or firms like brands might use strategies to create pressure in consumers. For example, limited time promotions, limited edition products, and limited time sales. So the question we are interested in answering here is, how do these two factors, duration of uniqueness and psychological or just pressure, how do they interact to affect the choices of unique products? Sorry. So let's look first at what we know in the literature about need for uniqueness. So need for uniqueness is defined as the need to see oneself as different positively different from others. So it can be a personality trait. Some people have higher need for uniqueness than other people. Or it could be also contextually activated. Some situations might make people desire to be more unique than other situations. So the same person in different contexts might have different levels of need for uniqueness. What about pressure? We know that when pressure is extreme, it may lead to people not being able to make a decision. So people might choke, might not be able to process information. However, when pressure is moderately high, motivated people might work harder to make decisions. So we know that it increases cognitive effort, increases interest and performance, and makes people, this is very important, it makes people focus on relevant attributes and on the salient differences between the options. So what do we predict, looking at this literature from pressure on decision making and from need for uniqueness? We assume that people who are high in need for uniqueness, they are highly motivated when making choices between unique products. So if we expose these people to high pressure, because they are motivated, we assume or we hypothesize that they will focus on the most important differences between the products. And if the products are both luxury products, they might focus on this dimension that we think is important, which is the duration of uniqueness. And if they focus on the duration of uniqueness, what do you think provides them more benefits for people? A timeless design or a trendy design? A timeless design, right? So when people are thinking about duration, this benefit might become more salient. On the other hand, when people are under low pressure, they might not make enough or not make as much cognitive effort in making this decision as people under high pressure. So they might just use heuristics or rules of thumb to make decisions. And one such heuristic could be that they perceive trendy products to be more unique because they are novel, they are new designs, so they might be perceived as more unique. And in this case, maybe they will prefer or have greater preference for trendy products. Finally, people who are low in need for uniqueness, they are not really motivated to buy unique products. So we don't expect pressure here to make any effect on their choices. So basically this model here that we are showing shows our hypothesis. Our first hypothesis is that pressure is going to affect how much people will focus on the duration of uniqueness. And this effect of pressure on the focus on duration of uniqueness is moderated by need for uniqueness. So pressure will only affect people's attention to the duration of uniqueness if people are high in need for uniqueness. And second, this focus on the duration of uniqueness will affect the choices of timeless versus trendy products. So before we did this research, we actually wanted to know, is this really something new, or do maybe people already know this? People who work in the area, people who sell luxury products, maybe they already know what to do, how pressure affects customers. So Susan did a great job here visiting luxury stores in Madrid. There's a street they call the Gold Mile, which is the Serrano Street near our school. So she could take the opportunity to visit many luxury stores. And she asked people working in these stores to imagine a consumer who has to make a decision right now. And she is undecided between this classic, timeless design or this new trendy design. What do you think this consumer would choose? And to another group of salespeople, she presented a different scenario. This consumer is not under pressure. She can decide now or later. So basically we wanted to know if the intuition of these professionals would be the same as our hypothesis. So first, what did they predict? Basically, there was no statistical difference between these predictions, although we did have a very small sample. But even if we did find a statistical significance, the predictions they are making are actually opposite to what we are hypothesizing. So they expected people under pressure and high need for uniqueness. No, they are all high need for uniqueness, sorry. People under high pressure to choose more the trendy product, and people under low pressure to choose more the timeless product. So their intuition is that if people have more time to think, they will realize the benefits of the classic design, which is opposite to our prediction. We also wanted to check which one they think is a better investment, to confirm one of our assumptions, that a timeless design is usually a better investment than the trendy one. And they did confirm that. And finally, we wanted to know if they found this a relevant research question for their business. And they found that it is quite relevant. So I'm going to show you now 3 experiments we did to test this theory and to test the process that we hypothesized. First study was simply to test whether people would choose more the classic design under pressure if they are high need for uniqueness, and also to choose to see if, even if we make this this classic product a bit better than the other, not equal to the other, just differing on the duration, but also a bit better in some other characteristics, would people still prefer the trendy design if they are under low pressure? That's what we did. And as I said, we didn't necessarily use luxury products here, we just used unique products, and we described them as unique. And in the pre-test, we found they were equally unique. People liked both equally, and they were equally likely to buy both types of shirts. However, this first shirt that we call the trendy shirt, it was described as contemporary, and it's going to stand out during this season. So it was a description, or the framing of the product was make it perceived as a trendy product, whereas the other product was described in a way to be perceived as a classic or timeless design. So this is what happened. First, we put people under pressure by telling them they only have 1 minute to make this decision. In the low pressure condition, we said you have 1 minute. In the high pressure, we said you have 40 seconds. Even though these are both, they seem to be high pressure in both cases, we know that these people are making these choices very quickly. So from the pre-test, we knew that 40 seconds were enough for everyone. But we told them, some people were told they have more time, other people were told they have less time. And they had to make the choice of a shirt. Finally, we measured the need for uniqueness using the NFU scale. So basically, the result confirms our hypothesis. Here on the left side, we can see that low need for uniqueness people, they showed no effects of pressure. There is no significant difference between the choices. So this graph, what we are seeing here is the percentage of people choosing the timeless design. However, people high in need for uniqueness, we can observe that when they were under high pressure, they were much more likely to choose the timeless design than when they were under low pressure. Okay, so this first study we used a hypothetical choice, and we wanted to then test whether this would happen if people are making a real choice, not only a hypothetical choice. So we also wanted to see if creating pressure in a different way, because here we said you have people had different amount of time. In the next study, we didn't change how much time people had to make the decision. We simply told them how much time was enough. We just manipulated pressure by creating this impression that they have enough time or that they don't have enough time. We just told them that most people take so much time, so they would be feeling under pressure. And here we described 2 bags, which we pretested. We pretested twice. because we wanted also to capture in here whether when we do a pretest, maybe we are showing one product at a time. If we put the two products together, maybe some differences might become more salient. So for example, the perception of the trendy product, maybe it will look more unique when we put it side by side with the classic product. So we did first a separate evaluation pretest where people evaluated only one product at a time. And then we did this comparative evaluation where they looked at both products simultaneously. So in the separate evaluations, the only difference that we found between these bags was in the duration of uniqueness dimension. There were no other differences. But when we put these products side by side and asked people to evaluate them, we still have this advantage for the timeless product in the duration. But now the trendy product looks more unique when we contrast it to the timeless product. So just putting the timeless product next to the trendy product makes the trendy product look more unique. Then we went ahead to run the study where we told people that some of them were going to receive the bag that they chose. So this had real consequences for people because they would be choosing the bag they wanted to receive in case they were selected. And the way we manipulated the time pressure was by giving everyone the same time. We gave 1 minute and 20 seconds to everyone. However, we said to people in a lower pressure, we said most people need 1 minute and 20 seconds to make this choice. So they feel they have enough time. But for people in the high pressure, we told most people need 2 minutes to make this choice. And because they only have 1 minute and 20, they would feel they are under pressure. So basically, it was just a psychological time pressure that we manipulated here. And we asked them to make a choice between the two bags. And finally, we measured the need for uniqueness using a different measure, which is called the consumer's need for uniqueness. And again, we find a similar pattern as before. When people are low in need for uniqueness, there is no difference in the choices of the timeless product under high or low pressure. However, when they are high in need for uniqueness, people who are under higher pressure, they are more likely to choose the timeless product. Again, this is basically our initial assumption or our initial hypothesis that putting people under pressure makes them focus on the most important dimensions and the most salient differences. And here is the duration of the benefits of these products. Finally, we wanted to get some evidence that it is really that people are thinking more about the duration when they are under pressure. So in this study, we also did a similar choice task as before, but instead of measuring the need for uniqueness, as I said in the beginning, we can activate the need for uniqueness, and we use this priming procedure to activate the need for uniqueness. And we also manipulated the pressure by using a product scarcity manipulation. In the other two studies, we manipulated how much time people had to make the decision. Here we created some psychological pressure by telling them the stock of this product is really low, or by telling the stock of this product is quite high. So how do we prime need for uniqueness? We use this procedure of priming homogeneity or uniqueness. In the uniqueness priming, there is a series of figures, circles and squares, and only one of them is different, so that one is unique. It makes the concept of uniqueness more salient in people's minds. And in the homogeneity condition, we just show all the same figures, so all squares or all circles. And then people have to answer how many squares and circles they see. We are not really interested in that because we know the answer. We just want them to look at these features. And then, as I said, we manipulate pressure by varying the stock of the product. They either thought that both products, and the products used here were also bags, this product was quite high, the stock of this product, so they were not under pressure. or they thought the stock was quite low and so they felt more under pressure. And we asked people in the end of the study what were they thinking about when they made this decision? What were their thoughts while making this decision? So the mandatory process macro here, mediation model. So as I showed in the beginning, this model that we tested, it provides support for our hypothesis 2, which is that the number of thoughts increased with pressure, number of thoughts about duration increased with pressure only for people high in need for uniqueness. And that this number of thoughts increased the probability that people chose the timeless product. So to summarize, we did 3 studies we showed here in the pilot with the professionals in sales of unique products. And we showed that the number of thoughts or focusing on the duration of the benefits is the mediator, is the variable that drives this process. So for theory, we bring contribution in terms of, we don't know many papers that have studied choices between 2 unique products. Most of the literature is focusing on the choice between unique versus non-unique, luxury versus non-luxury. And here we are trying to refine this literature and see how people choose when they have 2 luxury options. And we identified the duration of uniqueness as a very relevant dimension for this. And we also bring this point that motivated people under pressure can make better choices. So normally we think that pressure may be bad for choices. The more time people have to think, the better. It's not necessarily true, as we showed here. So we show that pressure can have positive effects for the sales of classic products or timeless products. At the same time, it may have a negative effect. So if you're having limited editions and the product is a trendy product, which might be the case, it may not work as well, because when people are thinking about limited edition, if they feel pressure, they might focus on the most important attributes, and they might realize the duration of this product may not be so great. And naturally, it also helps consumers to understand that if they focus on this important attribute, which is the duration, they might be better off. So, thank you very much for attending this talk. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact any one of us, preferably Susan. I'm happy to answer you.
So if you have to extrapolate your research, which you've done in the US, right? Yeah, into Southeast Asia, and let's say, for example, what happens in Malaysia, for example, do you see some kind of a similarity in that, or do you see there's?
Yeah, so that's one limitation of our research, actually, and that's one thing that the reviewers, as I'm going through this process, it has asked for, like, can you replicate this outside of the US? And we've actually conducted a study in France to see, and there were some other things going on. So in France, for example, the general overall political conservatism in France is much lower than in the US. And so we kind of see the other things going around there. And so just to answer your questions, I think the overall level of, the mean level of political conservatism, like US being a little above average, like internationally, France being like much lower than that, like Malaysia could fall in different places. Might be a potential future research to examine how that moderates this relationship. But US is pretty much, if I look at the international spectrum, falls around the average, a little higher on the conservatism. So any country that falls around there, I think will pretty much find the same thing. But if your country falls far high on the conservative side or far low on that, it might be some other things going on there, which honestly is beyond the scope of this paper to speak.